Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zachary Ruger, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. Welcome back, everyone. It's a new week. It was a pretty good weekend overall for me, I would say. Watching UFC 294 was amazing. We will, of course, be covering the entire card to cap off this episode, my favorite part of every episode. And we don't have any UFC next weekend, so I will have to treasure talking about every single fight that went down this past Saturday. Of course, yesterday, Sunday, watched some NFL while doing all my homework for the week. I kind of just bit the bullet and went after it, did all my work for my marketing class, finance class, management class, business law class, and then was able to enjoy watching a little football. And tonight, Monday, my Minnesota Vikings play, so you already know I'll be rooting for them. We'll be reviewing all the matchups that went down in Week 7 of the NFL. We'll, of course, be going over a little bit of the MLB playoffs, just a brief check-in, and going over the NCCA football, or going to go over the top 25 and all sorts of other topics here on the episode today. But I hope everyone's Monday has been going well. By the time you listen to this, it might be Tuesday, October 24th. UFC 5 actually comes out this week on Thursday for anyone who pre-ordered the regular version. But if you pre-ordered the deluxe version, you can actually play it today, October 23rd. Personally, I have no interest in buying the deluxe version. I've found out from some people that there's actually no new fighters in the game currently. It's actually seeming like a letdown at the moment, but it's an upgrade from UFC 4, so I will nonetheless be playing it. I just want new fighters. That's honestly all I like to play as. I like to play as new fighters. And honestly, going division by division, there's some huge fighters now that they need to have in the game. When I look at flyweight, I mean, the number 3 fighter in the world, Amir Albazi, is not in the game. He definitely should be. Mahabin Mokaev, who just won this past weekend, will now be ranked either number 10 or 9 in the flyweight division. He should be in the game. I'm trying to think of some other big ones. I look at the rankings. I feel every ranked fighter should always be in the game, personally. When I go to lightweight, Drew Dober, just such a staple of the lightweight division. He, of course, should be in UFC EA Sports 5 without a doubt. Going to the welterweight division, I mean, number 11, Ian Gary, such a star, rising prospect, easily should be. I mean, Jeff Neal, ranked number 8. I mean, he's been in the UFC now, 7 years or something. Should definitely be in the game. Top 10 at middleweight, I mean, number 7, Roman Dolidze isn't even in the game. Number 13, Chris Curtis, a staple of the division. Number 11, Nasruddin Imavov. And light heavyweight, I mean, number 10, Ryan Spann, surprised he's not in the game yet. At heavyweight, I mean, we need number 9, Hilton Almeida. He's in the next Fight Night main event. Our next UFC event, November 4th in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The main event fighter isn't even in. Hopefully the UFC adds him. I really hope they do, but we'll see what else they do. And as for women, they actually do a pretty decent job with the women fighters. But not much going on there in UFC EA Sports 5. I'll be doing a full breakdown once I play the game Thursday. Thursday, pretty busy. Actually, going to be playing the game. I had class. But we actually have a surprise podcast this week with a special guest. So stay tuned for that Wednesday. That should be dropping probably around like 10 o'clock at night. So any of my Thursday listeners, stay tuned for that. The MLB playoffs, as I mentioned, are nearing a end. We have briefly checked in with them on my Wednesday episode. We'll probably be doing a more in-depth look at the World Series as it is. But as of right now, the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers are tied 3-3. Game 7 goes down tonight. So by the time you listen to this on Tuesday, you will know actually who's going to be in the World Series representing the American League Conference. Astros, they've been on a bit of a tear. They were number 2 in the postseason rankings. They were able to beat the Minnesota Twins 3-1, unfortunately. As for the Rangers, I mean, they fought their way from the number 5 spot, beating the Tampa Bay Rays in the wild card 2-0, swept them, then swept the Orioles 3-0 in the quarterfinals, and now in the semifinals. They are tied 3-3. It's been a bit of a comeback of sorts for the Astros. We kicked everything off with Game 1, Rangers winning 2-0. Going up after that, they went actually up 2-0 after a 5-4 win. Once it went back to Houston, they won 8-5. They then won 10-3. They would then won 5-4, but with a chance to be swept yesterday, the Rangers were able to beat the Astros 9-2. So Game 7 goes down tonight. I honestly am just going to root for the Astros just because it'd be cool if they repeated as champions, but if the Texas Rangers go, good for them. Switching over to the NLCS, Diamondbacks are currently down 3-2 to the Phillies. Game 6 goes down tonight. Phillies, they were the 4th seed, swept in the wild card, beat the Braves, number 1 seeded Braves 3-1 in the quarterfinals, and are now up 3-2 over the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks shouldn't even be here. They're the number 6 seed, the bottom seed in the NLCS, the National League Conference, and were able to upset the Brewers 2-0, swept the number 2 seeded Dodgers 3-0. But now in a tough position, they have a must-win game tonight. They lost Game 1 to the Phillies 5-3. Were able to they actually lost Game 2 10-0, 10-rip. Were able to win Game 3 2-1, but lost Game 4 Friday 6-5. Lost Game 5 6-1. They won Game 4 6-5. Lost Game 5 6-1. Wow, I'm all confused. But yes, Game 6 goes down at 5 p.m. tonight. I have no stake in this, but maybe my special guest will be able to give us some more of an insight into the MLB playoffs of sorts. I'm also going to go with the Phillies to win, so we'll go with the Phillies-Astros World Series. I don't really mind what happens, but that's what's going on in the world of MLB. New announcements for UFC fights. We always talk about that to kick off the podcast of sorts, but no new fight announcements since we last met on Thursday. The only big thing is that Jared Cannonier, is Jared number 2? Yes. No, he's number 4, actually. Jared Cannonier, the number 4 middleweight in the world, coming off of a record-setting fight in the night win against Marvin Vettori earlier this year, the number 5 ranked middleweight, is out of his fight with number 7 ranked Roman Dolidze. They were supposed to fight on the December 2nd fight night in Austin, Texas. Yes, it was supposed to be in Minnesota, from everything I was hearing, but instead they decided to switch it to Austin for some reason. Austin, Texas, actually, is where they host Kill Tony. It's where a lot of comedians are from. Kill Tony, show on YouTube, hosted by Tony something. I can't remember his last name. Hinchcliffe, yes, Tony Hinchcliffe, comedian. Such a funny show. New episodes drop Monday. I always watch that show now. But yeah, Roman's out of his fight. He tore his MCL. He actually accepted to fight Khamzat on short notice, so it could have been him fighting Khamzat instead of Kamaru Usman, but he tore his MCL. He's out of this fight. So Roman, now ranked at number 7, has fought in March and lost to Marvin Vettori. Doesn't have a fight booked. A couple of options. He could take on number 15th ranked Anthony Hernandez, maybe even number 10 Calvin. Actually, Calvin Gastelum's moving down. Gosh, I don't even know who Roman's going to fight, but I hope he stays on the card. I don't know if he's going to fight anyone, but if he wants to fight up, maybe Robert Whittaker will be down to scrap with him. We'll see what happens, but unfortunate result for Roman losing his opponent and for Jared Cannonier for tearing his MCL. Hopefully they can both get a fight booked, and hopefully Jared can recover from his unfortunate injury. Football been going on a lot recently. We've been talking about MLB mostly, but college football is another big thing that's been going on here in America. And I am going to talk about the top 25 ranked teams. A lot of upsets this past weekend. I saw the Golden Gophers, the Minnesota Gophers, actually beat Iowa, who are ranked 24. So we'll see if they're still in the rankings in the top 25. So we'll go from 25 to 1, and we'll look at all the teams that are currently in the top 25. And there's actually 9 undefeated teams at the moment, and we'll see if any of them land in the top 25. Obviously, a majority of them do, which is actually who we're kicking it off with our number 25, James Madison Dukes, James Madison University. The Dukes are 7-0 undefeated. They were previously not ranked last week, but after defeating Marshall 20-9, they are now in the top 25. Undefeated, having a good season. They play Old Dominion next Saturday at 8 o'clock on ESPNU. Should be a good game. The Dukes have allowed only 253 rushing yards through 7 games. That's the third fewest by any college football team in the last 20 seasons, behind only the 2008 TCU team, which only allowed 145, and the 2006 Michigan team, which only gave up 228 rushing yards through the first 7 games. Impressive stuff from the James Madison Dukes. Welcome to the rankings. Good for you guys. At number 24, we have a team that was ranked 18th, but is now fallen to 6-2 record for the 2023 season. If you can guess this, they are led by Caleb Williams. That's right, USC, the USC Trojans, the University of it's Southern California, isn't it? That's what USC is. I was trying to think. I know it was in California, but I was like, South Carolina? No. They were previously ranked 18th. They lost to Utah this week, 34-32. I mean, Caleb Williams, he had a streak of 21 straight games with a passing touchdown, and it was snapped this game. Longest since Matt Lennart, actually, former QB of the USC Trojans. They play Cal next week, Pac-12 Network matchup. Their USC man, Caleb Williams, is supposed to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft next season. They've now lost 2 games this season. He has been not looking up to his form, and he's saying stuff about like some fan rushed the field after they lost their it wasn't the Utah game, I think it was the other game, but he was like getting all of his face, just some college kid. And Caleb Williams said a lion doesn't concern himself with sheep, which I guess, Caleb, but your team's now 6-2. He said whoever drafts him, he wants partial ownership of the team. These NLI deals, they're just getting to these players' heads. So USC at 24 in the rankings. At 23, we actually have another California team who jumped 2 spots. They were ranked 25th last week, but now the UCLA Bruins, with a 5-2 record, are ranked 23. They defeated Stanford 42-7 in Week 8. Impressive stuff from the Bruins. The Bruins' 35-point victory was its largest road win since 2015 when they beat Oregon State by 41. They play Colorado. Yep, that's right, Colorado, next Saturday at 7:30 on ABC. So they're in a primetime spot as they play primetime. So good for the Bruins. Bruins, I feel, are more known as a basketball team. Lonzo Ball, of course, playing on them. One of the players that just comes to mind off the top of my head. And also, gosh, I can think of so many players. I can just picture them in my head just from March Madness, from watching that all the time. But none are coming to mind at the moment, unfortunately. But the UCLA Bruins at 23. At 22, jumping up a spot from 23 last week, the 6-1 Tulane Green Waves. They defeated North Texas 35-28, and now we're ranked at 22. They play Rice next Saturday, Rice University, on ESPN2 at 4 o'clock. Stat to know, Michael Pratt had 3 touchdown passes and ran for a 4th as he won his 9th consecutive start, the 3rd longest streak in college football, behind only Washington's QB Michael Penix Jr. and Florida State University's Jordan Travis. Good for Tulane, sort of a not too well-known college. I don't even know where Tulane's located at, but actually, yeah, we'll do a little live Googling on the podcast to figure out where Tulane University is at. It's actually in Greenville. No, it's in New Orleans? Los Angeles? Where is this at? I'm getting way too many different things. Actually is in Louisiana. New Orleans, Louisiana. Good for that. A little medical college. Huh. Good for you, Tulane, 22. At 21, dropping 4 spots from 17, we have the Tennessee Volunteers. 5-2 now on the season. The Vols were held scoreless in the second half in their loss to Alabama 34-20 for only the second time under head coach Josh Heupel. They play Kentucky next Saturday on ESPN, just regular ESPN. But yeah, they were winning that Alabama game. They choked in the second half. And man, Alabama, what if they make it back to the college football playoffs? Aren't they having 6 teams in this year? I can't recall if that's actually going to happen. But Tennessee, that's tough. You've dropped out of the top 20 now. And speaking of the top 20, at number 20, dropping 4 spots, unfortunately, we do have the Duke Blue Devils. They're 5-2. They just lost to Florida State 38-20. Next Saturday, they will play Louisville. The Blue Devils were outscored 21-0 after the departure of their starting QB Riley Leonard due to an injury late in the 3rd quarter. But you know what? They're 5-2. They're in the top 25. This is as big of a basketball college as it gets. Good for Duke. We'll see what you can do. Actually, Ryan Benecki, who we had on the 3rd ever episode of the Surprise Jab podcast, my loyal cousin, my buddy, he's actually a huge Duke fan, but he goes to Iowa now, so I'm sure he doesn't really care about the Duke football team. At number 19, and one of our 9 undefeated teams, we have the 7-0, previously ranked at 22. They're now ranked at 19, Air Force. The Falcons, the Air Force, the college. They defeated the Navy 17-6. Always love when those teams play. It's always cool to know. The Falcons are actually 7-0 for the first time since 1997. They finished that season 10-3. Next Saturday, they play Colorado State at 7 p.m. on CBSN Network. Air Force, good for them. My cousin, not Ryan Parker, was actually going to join the Air Force, but I think he's now going to be a cop, potentially, so good for him. But the Air Force, always like seeing the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, Marines. I don't think there's a Marines college, but you know what I'm saying, always like seeing those teams play. Actually, when they have basketball games on like the warships, the giant jets where the fighter jets land on, I always find that so cool. I wonder if they'd ever do a football game on one of those. I don't know if that's been done. We'll have to see. At number 18, jumping 3 spots from 21 last week, we have the 6-1 Louisville Cardinals. They did have a bye week this week. The Cardinals will look to bounce back from last week's upset loss to Pittsburgh when the Panthers outscored Louisville 24-0 in the second half and out to a 38-21 win. So yes, they were 6-0, lost unfortunately. They do play Duke actually next Saturday, so best of luck to them, Louisville. I feel best known for Lamar Jackson. He put Louisville on the map, at least for me. I know not for everyone. But yeah, Louisville Cardinals, good for you. And everyone uses that cardinal symbol, their logo for the team. At number 17, falling a crazy 7 spots. This team was ranked 10 last week. They're now at 17 after losing to Virginia 31-27. We have UNC, the North Carolina Tar Heels, 6-1 now on the season. The Tar Heels become the first top 10 team to lose to Virginia at home ever. They play Georgia Tech next Saturday. UNC, another basketball college. But what's his face actually went there? It wasn't Mitch Trubinsky. No, I'm thinking of Sam Howell, I believe it was. Yes, Sam Howell went to USC. If I'm not speaking correctly, Sam Howell, the current starting QB for the Washington Commanders, suffered a tough L this week. Yes, he actually did go to the University of North Carolina. That's what I thought. Big basketball college is where a lot of notable people came from. I mean, Michael Jordan went there, for goodness sakes. North Carolina basketball school. Falling out of the top 10, that's tough. Still in the top 25, though. Good for them. At number 16, jumping 4 spots, we actually have the Missouri Tigers, 7-1 now in the season. They defeated South Carolina 34-12. Tigers are off to their best start since 2013 when they went 12-2 and advanced to the SEC championship game. They do play Georgia on November 4th, so they get a little break next weekend, but then it's back to Georgia in 2 weeks. Don't know how that's going to go for them. We'll get to Georgia in a bit, but good for Missouri. They're overall good in all sports, and I think some chick from my high school actually went there, if I'm thinking of that. She was like two or 3 years older than me, but Missouri Tigers at 16. Getting into the top 15, we have Joe Burrow, Livy Dunn's, Shaquille O'Neal's, Nas Reed's. LSU Tigers, previously ranked 19th. They jump 4 spots to the 15th spot. They're 6-2 now. They defeated Army 62-0 last week. This was LSU's biggest shutout victory since defeating Rice University 77-0 in 1977. Oh my goodness. Army, what happened? 62-0 shutout. LSU looking good. They do play Alabama in 2 weeks, so just like Missouri, and you get two weeks off, but then it's back to a tough team. Good for LSU. I wonder if Baby Gronk's going to go to LSU. We'll see, but good for them. At number 14, jumping up 1 spot from last week, we have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame 6-2. They did have a bye week last week. And the win over USC the week before, the Fighting Irish became the only team in the past 20 years to have 5 takeaways and a special teams touchdown against a top 10 opponent. Next weekend, they play Pittsburgh at 3:30 on NBC. That's right. That's the kid I was thinking of who was taunting Caleb Williams. He was from Notre Dame. And yeah, Notre Dame, always a notable team in college football. Actually, for basketball, too, they occasionally have a good season. Love Notre Dame. I think my uncle actually likes Notre Dame, or does he not like Notre Dame? I can't remember at times, but Notre Dame at 14. At number 13, we have the Utah Utes, previously ranked at 14th. They jump up a spot after defeating USC 34-32. They're now 6-1, and Utah has won 4 straight games against USC now, which is tied for the second longest winning streak against the Trojans by a Pac-12 school in the AP poll era. 1936 was when the AP poll era began. So that's a crazy stat. They play next Saturday against Oregon at 3:30. Ooh, that should be interesting. Utah. I actually know one of my buddies from high school, middle school, and elementary school more. But I actually saw him at college the last 2 years. He actually goes to a helicopter school in Utah. Not much goes on there. I'd actually like to visit Utah sometime, see what the land is like out there. But good for them. They're up to 13, and that's right. They defeated USC. That's last week. Good for them. At number 12, we have the Ole Miss Rebels jumping up from 13. They defeated Auburn 28-21. They're now 6-1. The Rebels have started 6-1 or 7-0 in 3 consecutive seasons for the first time since they did so in 7 straight seasons from 1957 to 1963. They play Vanderbilt on the SEC Network next Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Ole Miss. Some kid I somewhat know, he's more friends with one of my other friends, actually goes to college there now. He went to Minnesota State University, or actually Minnesota State Mankato, I should say. There's a lot of Minnesota universities. But now he's now in a frat now at Ole Miss. So good for them. They're now number 12. Got a feel for them. Good for the Ole Miss Rebels. I've always loved watching Ole Miss on Saturday at 11 a.m. I just feel that team's always on whenever I'm waking up and watching it. So good for Ole Miss. Just outside of the top 10 at number 11, we have the Oregon State Beavers, who jump up from the number 12 spot. They came off a bye week. They're now 6-1, and the Beavers have actually scored at least 21 points in 15 consecutive games, tied for the 4th longest streak in college football. They play Arizona next Saturday at 10:30 p.m. on ESPN. Oregon State, the Beavers, just always that team in football or in basketball or even sometimes in baseball. They just sneak their way in. They manage to do good. Good for them. Number 11. But let's get into our top 10. And actually, this top 10 team actually was ranked 7 last week. But after losing to Ohio State 20-12, they're now 6-1, no longer undefeated. That's right, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State. They play Indiana next Saturday, but the Lions, they were 1 for 16 on third downs in that Ohio State loss, the worst conversion percentage by a ranked team in the past 10 seasons, a minimum of 15 attempts. They had 16. And entering Saturday, they were 1,224 instances of ranked teams having at least 15 third down attempts. Wow, quite the stat there. But yeah, Penn State did not perform well. Their QB, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, did not do well. And now they're dropping down. Any hopes of making the college playoffs now looking kind of dire. Number 10, Penn State. And number 9, a team that usually, if they only have one loss, can still find their way into the college football playoffs, is the Alabama Crimson Tide. They were ranked 11 last week, but after having a comeback, they're defeating Tennessee 34-20. They're now ranked number 9. Saturday marked the first time Alabama came back from a 13-point halftime deficit at home since 1995, and it also tied the largest comeback from a halftime deficit in the Nick Saban era. Obviously, head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have an absolute banger against LSU on November 4th. Excited for that game. Good for Alabama. And actually, in the Dolphins and Eagles game on Sunday Night Football, I mean, it was basically the Alabama Bowl. They had so many star players. I mean, you think about Bradley Chubb, you think about Jalen Hurts, you think about Tua, you think about freaking... Gosh, so many different players played on Alabama. Such a good team. They're now up to 9. Good for them. At number 8, we have a team that actually jumped up a spot. They were 9 last week, but they defeated Washington State 38-24, the 6-1 Oregon Ducks, in a game in which he made his 54th career start, the most by a quarterback in college football history. Bo Nix completed 18 of 25 passes for 293 yards and 3 total touchdowns. Bo Nix, I wonder if he'll be the Vikings QB next year. It's not looking like it's going to be Kirk Cousins. I've been hearing rumors that he might be traded to the Browns, as the Browns have a horrible locker room for QBs. We'll see what happens, but then we'd have Jaron Hall, I think, is our starting QB. So I don't know how that would go, but Oregon, they play Utah next Saturday on Fox at 3:30. Bo Nix going to be entering the NFL draft next season, probably. Good for them, up to 8. At number 7, we have the Texas Longhorns, who were ranked 8 last week, but they get a 31-24 victory over Houston. They're now 6-1. The Longhorns held Houston to just 14 rushing yards, the fewest they've allowed since 2018. Wow. Next Saturday, they play BYU at 3:30. Texas, all the way up to number 7. Isn't that where Arch Manning's going? Is he already there? I don't even know. I've forgotten about that kid. But Texas, you're up to 7. Good for you. At number 6, we have the Oklahoma Sooners. They were 6 last week. They're 7-0. They're undefeated. I mean, this team is just looking good. They were behind for 21 minutes and 9 seconds on Saturday after trailing for only 12 minutes in their first 6 games combined, which was the least time trailing for any college football team entering the day. They do play Kansas at noon on Fox next Saturday. But guess what? They were able to rally against UCF. They win 31-29, undefeated. They're 6. Good for them. College football playoffs in their eyes. Getting into our top 5, we have an undefeated team here as the Washington Huskies. They were 5 last week. They're 5 this week. They're 7-0. They defeated Arizona State 15-7. They finished with 13 rushing yards. It's fewest in a win in the last 25 years, but they were able to sneak out the tough win, get it done against Arizona State. Actually, some kid from my girlfriend's grade, so was he like 2 years younger than me, actually goes to Arizona State. That's cool. He got a really big scholarship there. But, they play Stanford next week on FS1 at 7 p.m. Good for Washington, man. Always got a feel for them. Some big player went to Washington, and it's, I'll never, you know what? At the heat of the moment right now, I won't be able to think of him, but it's on my mind. At number 4, we have the Florida State Seminoles. That's right, number 4 ranked FSU. They were ranked 4 last week. They're 4 this week. They're 7-0. They defeated Duke 38-20 last week, and Jordan Travis became just the 4th ACC quarterback with at least 15 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing scores through 7 games in the past 20 seasons. Wow, impressive stuff from Jordan Travis. He could be a future NFL QB one day. They play Wake Forest next Saturday. Good for them. But yeah, Florida State getting back to their ways since Jameis Winston left. I mean, gosh, that was quite a while ago. Jameis Winston, of course, now the backup for the Saints. Actually, is he? Usually like 3rd string now. Usually they bring in Taysom Hill sometimes, but good for FSU at 4. Heading into number 3, they were 3 last week. They're 3 this week. No shocker here. Ohio State. 7-0, they defeated Penn State 20-12 in a very close matchup. Marvin Harrison Jr. accounted for 50% of Ohio State's receptions with 11 and 50% of the team's receiving yards with 162. They play Wisconsin next Saturday. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be an absolute killer when he makes it to the NFL. So Ohio State team, 7-0, looking good. And actually, my mom's friend's daughter, who I actually used to hang out with when we were all little, we used to have little play dates with like my mom and her 2 friends and like all their kids. We'd have a big group and we'd just do stuff. She actually goes to Ohio State, which is pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure my cousin's ex-girlfriend goes there. So I don't know if we're going to root for Ohio State anymore, but good for them. 7-0. Let's get into the number 2 team, which, gosh dang it, they could very well be number 1. This team is absolutely insane. Number 2, Michigan, the Wolverines. Oh my gosh, this team is so freaking good. They destroyed Michigan State 49-0. Oh, that victory was the most it has ever scored at Michigan State and accounted for its largest margin of victory in East Lansing. I mean, absolutely insane. They get a bye week next week. Then November 4th, they play Purdue. I mean, Michigan is just a powerhouse. I mean, they blew out the U. They blew up the Golden Gophers, which I don't really care that much about, but destroying Michigan State, winning the Battle of Michigan, 49 rip. This team is going to be a problem. J.J. McCarthy is just coming into his own. The wide receivers are good. The defense is good. The running back's good. I mean, this Michigan team is super good. And it's my dad's, his company, Alro Steel. They're huge Michigan supporters, so he always gets to go to Michigan games. And man, oh man, they are just killers. Michigan, super good. And number 1, obviously coming off of their bye week, you couldn't knock them down just because they didn't play. 7-0, the Georgia Bulldogs, my goodness. Georgia Bulldogs enter next week's game against Florida on a 24-game winning streak, the largest, fourth longest in SEC history. They have also won 17 straight games against SEC East opponents, which is also the 4th longest since divisions were created in 1992. Wow, yeah, they play Florida at 3:30 on CBS next weekend. Florida is unranked, so I mean, we'll see how Georgia does, but good for the Bulldogs, undefeated 7-0. Man, this team is an issue, but, one slip up and they could get booted from the top 4. We'll see what happens, though. The only other undefeated team not on the top 25 list is actually Liberty University. How about that? Georgia's at 1, Ohio State's at 3, Air Force is 19, Washington's 5, Michigan's at the 2, Florida State's at the 4, Oklahoma's at the 6, and James Madison at the 25. Yeah, your current top 4 teams, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida State. All a bunch of killers. College football, always so entertaining, and honestly, the games seem to be more entertaining than the NFL. They don't feel scripted in the slightest. I mean, there's no talk of that even. These are real college students. These are young men playing the game. You love to see it. And this might be a weekly thing though. I did enjoy going over all the teams, going over what's happened of sorts. But yeah, we got 9 undefeated teams. We'll see how many last. But yeah, it's getting down to the halfway point of football season of sorts. Once November starts going, January's looming. Super Bowl, all the bowls actually for college football. So many different bowls they do. I wonder if Minnesota will make any. I don't know. My girlfriend goes there, and I don't give them much hope. But hey, it is what it is. Do we want to talk about Week 7 of the NFL yet? I don't know. I might actually go over our little surprise topic. It's nothing much. I was just going to talk about some of the TV shows I've been watching recently, but let me plug my company. First, if anyone's listened to any past episodes, you should know that I actually am part of a company. That is right. It's called Ever Growing Co. We're selling sweatshirts, and all proceeds go to Mankato Youth Place, which is where I currently go to college at Minnesota State University Mankato. The company is through that. We're part of this program called the Integrated Business Experience. We get a loan. We have to start a business. All of our money goes to charity. So if you guys want to buy a sweatshirt, $45, very high quality. They look super good. We were actually volunteered yesterday at our charities. They had a mile walk. We got a lot of sales. We made about $1,300 in sales. It was amazing. These sweatshirts are super good. Empowering message on the back. Keep going, keep growing. Got 2 colors right now. We got sand and charcoal. We also have a limited edition color dropping soon. I'll have to reveal that to you. But yeah, if you don't want to buy anything, drop a follow, leave a like on Facebook and Instagram. I'm currently the only one running social media. I really need help because I can't do it alone. I mean, I already run this podcast. I run my own personal account. We'll see what happens though. Oh, actually, looking on now, we actually received a chat, and it was just a like from one of the charities we were at. But yeah, we appreciate if you guys check that out. Very much appreciate it. I'll say that. Also, I at that Mile Place run, I found out about this Ivy level hydration drink. It's like a Gatorade of sorts called Hoist. They have some very good flavors, and I might actually start pushing for a sponsorship. So if you guys see that on my Instagram posts, just know that I would love to get sponsored, and that would be super cool to make a little money off of this. But as for now, we just do it for fun. Episode 35 today. I just find that so crazy. And man, I'll tell you what's been crazy. All these shows I've been watching. I've been watching Gen V, the Boys spin-off show. I've been watching the new season of Loki season 2, and of course The Sopranos. I'm almost done with The Sopranos. I think I'm on episode 4 of the final season now. So I have 21 minus 4? I have 17 episodes left. Then I'm done with The Sopranos. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, Gen V, super good show. I believe they have 2 episodes left. It's basically it's like a superhero television series just made by the guys who made The Boys. If no one knows about what The Boys are, I mean, you need to look up that show. It's on Amazon Prime. Super entertaining, but just crazy ending to the last episode. If anyone's been watching it, there's just about all the superheroes. I'm trying to remember all the names of the characters. It's so easy. It's like when you watch a show once a week, but you're doing other things, you kind of forget about the characters' names off the top of your head, unless they're memorable, like Tony Soprano or Rick Grimes or Ragnar Lothbrok, names like that. But yeah, basically the show about these superheroes. There's this one named Marie. She has these blood powers. I mean, super gory show. If you don't let little kids watch this. But then there's they all have superhero names, man. It's just such a good show. I always thought about breaking down episodes, but it's actually always tougher than I realized to go over episodes, because eventually you actually have to go back through the episode after originally watching it, take notes on it of sorts. It's way more difficult than I thought. But yeah, we're on to episode 7 now. Basically last episode. If anyone's watched it, I'm just gonna hope that you guys have watched some of it. I mean, Kate, who's actually this superhero that can if she touches you with her hands, she can make you do anything she wants. It's a pretty scary thing. She traps Marie, who has blood powers. She's kind of freshman of sorts. Jordan, who can change between a boy and a girl and can basically manipulate. She has just strength and stuff. And Andre, who's actually the son of this other like super legendary superhero called Polarity. He can like bend metal and stuff, I'm pretty sure, super strength. Kate's imaginary friend, who's actually Soldier Boy, she was like appearing in her head and stuff, and she like trapped them all in her head and stuff. It was super, super crazy. Love Soldier Boy. Love that actor. What is his name? Starts with an A, or his last name starts with an A. I don't know. Super good. Trapped them in their head. They basically all found out about all her memories. Luke was basically this superhero called Golden Boy. Wasn't it Golden Boy or something? But he was a super good character. They killed him to start off the show. Spoiler alert. And basically, they found out that she was manipulating him. He has a brother, and she was trying to make him forget about him. There's like people and like the higher ups, the elites. They're trying to like take out Supes and stuff or learn to manipulate them. And Sam, the brother of Luke, who she'd been manipulating, she finds out about him. He almost kills her. But Emma, who's like the love interest of him of sorts, Marie's roommate, he's able to settle it down. She's able to settle it down over him. And now it's looking like they had this like doctor. He created like this serum that like killed Supes. So now I think this evil lady's trying to use it against them. So they're all going to try and stop her. And that's the gist of the TV show. But super gory, super like they have so many shocker scenes of sorts. But yeah, it's a super good show. And maybe after the next episode, which I think comes out on Thursdays, I will take some notes and go over it more. But yeah, Gen V's been super good. I'm ready for The Boys Season 4. It's probably going to be the final season. It's Boys, of course, with Homelander. I mean, oh my gosh, Billy Butcher. It's been a blast watching that show. But they always take so long to come out with a new season. And when shows take too long, kind of kills the vibe. One show that took a long time, which I've also been watching, is the new season of Loki on Disney+. Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston. Season 2, off to a pretty good start. Basically, honestly, I mean, there's not really even you could watch season 1 into season 2 with no break. Like, it just goes straight into it. 3 episodes have gone by so far. There's currently 3 left. No one comes out October 26th. What is that? October 26th is Thursday? If I'm not correct. Yeah, I'm Thursday. I'm very much correct. Yeah, but season 2, off to a good start. I mean, basically the TVA, Loki now works for them. And Mobius is back, of course. And they have this guy named Ouroboros, who is, who's Ouroboros? Is it Jackie Chan? Isn't that who Ouroboros is? I believe so. But yeah, it's such a good show. It's always fun. It's probably like the best Disney Plus show, personally, in my opinion, that the Disney has put out, especially for their MCU. But yeah, they've been working together. They're trying to find Sylvie, of course, the other variant of Loki, his like love interest of sorts. Hunter B-15, of course, the black lady from the show, super strong, short hair and sorts. They've been looking for what's his face, Kang, but he's like a variant of him. Miss Minutes is now with him. Renslayer, another like one of the villains on there, and they were all looking for her, and they finally found her on the last episode. But Miss Minutes, like the virtual clock or whatever, the made-up thing, is actually finessing over He Who Remains, or what's his name, Kang, basically one of his variants. And now it looks like after the last episode, they're now going to be Mobius and Sylvie and what's his name? Loki, of course, are going to be talking to Kang and basically trying to find out more about him and what's going on. But who knows what the MCU is setting up. It's been kind of dull as of late. I won't lie. The Marvels movie has zero hype behind it. I have no interest to watch that in the slightest. Hopefully my girlfriends or one of my friends does not push me to go, because I might end up going, and I know I'll regret it, because the first movie was not that good at all. But hey, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was amazing. I really got to watch that again. And Loki has been good so far. So happy to see what comes of Gen V and Loki, as both those seasons wind to an end around the same time. And of course, The Sopranos, one of the greatest written shows of all time. Some proclaim that it is. Love Tony Soprano. Love the whole mafia, the whole vibe of that. I'm getting down to the wire. And with that show. So it's been a blast. I also have been playing Mafia games on Xbox, Mafia 1, 2, and 3. Some of my favorite games. And yeah, it's just super fun. Oh, but man, I thought Tony Soprano died. I thought his uncle actually shot him to end the season, but turns out that was not the clip. That's actually how it opened up season 6. So I actually have no idea how the series comes to an end, because I've heard it has a bad series finale, like one of the worst written in TV history. Doesn't it end with like them all at a dinner and like the FBI breaks in and it just ends? That's all I know at the moment, but I don't know. I'll see how it plays out. Probably in the next, probably by December, I should have The Sopranos finished, so we'll see what happens. But with UFC 5 coming out, who knows if I'll have time to watch The Sopranos. I've also been watching the Lord of the Rings movies, as I've been reading the Lord of the Rings books. I mean, I watch so many things. Cloud my vision. Gotta remember to read the Bible. Praise God. Honestly, that's my motivation for the week. But yeah, Gen V, Loki, The Sopranos, those have been my shows at the moment. Man, Gen V, super good. Loki's been all right. I watched Gen V with every episode with my roommate, but I've probably enjoyed Gen V more than Loki. Loki's been all right. It's just like every episode so far with Loki's just kind of ended leaving me with like, oh, there wasn't really a cliffhanger here. I have no interest in next week. Or Gen V, every episode ends like, oh, I want more. And for The Sopranos, I mean, it's on Max right now. I can watch it. So Sopranos is probably my favorite out of those three. But, yeah, we're over that. Not really much to say about that. But I'll tell you what, we do have a lot to talk about. Obviously, UFC 294, but we're saving that for the end as we're going to talk about Week 7 of the NFL. I need a little water break. I need to have some of this Hoist, which keeps me hydrated of sorts. So I'm going to have some of that. I encourage you all to pick up some Hoist. I know they sell them at Hy-Vee. So if you want to get it there. But after I have a quick sip, then I'll be on to talk about Week 7 of the NFL. Yes, Week 7 of the NFL. Pretty good week. A lot of upsets. I did not do well in my predictions at all. I got 4 matchups correct as of right now. If the Vikings win, that'll make 5. It's looking like my mom's actually going to win our little pick'em league, so good for her. I always like when she wins. That always makes me happy. I always enjoy seeing that. Kicking off the week, we had the Jaguars taking on the Saints, and man, it was a back and forth matchup between both of these teams, with the Jaguars come out on top 31-24. Travis Etienne putting up 22.7 fantasy points. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 53 yards, and caught 3 passes for 24 yards. He was doing a great job. Trevor Lawrence, 204 yards and a touchdown, was getting it done. Actually led the day in rushing with 59 rushing yards. Calvin Ridley, the biggest disappointment for me personally, fantasy-wise, and of the day, 1 catch, 5 yards. But Christian Kirk, 6 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown, getting it done for this Jaguars team. Very happy for them. They are now 5-2 atop the AFC South. Positive points for and points against too. They're on a little 4-game win streak, but this was a tough one for them. New Orleans did not make it easy. Derek Carr, 301 yards, a touchdown and pick. Kamara ran for 62 yards and caught 12 passes for 91 yards, putting up an impressive 29 points in fantasy. Saints, unfortunately, suffering a tough L here. They are now 3rd in the NFC South at 3-4, but they do have a +6 points for points against. A little 2-game losing streak, though. Unfortunate for the Saints. This was a very close matchup, though. I will say that the Jaguars are winning. Saints had a little comeback, a lot of penalties at the end. Jaguars are able to come out on top. So good for the Jags. They'll keep it rolling. Who the Jaguars actually got next week? Jags play the Steelers next weekend for Halloween weekend, and the Saints, who the Saints got matched up with, they're going to Indianapolis to play the Colts. Good for them. That's a winnable game, honestly, for that team. I can see that. We also had 12 o'clock games for Week 7. The Falcons and the Buccaneers. I picked the Bucs. They did not get it done. Falcons win 16-13. Younghoe Kim gets a game-winning field goal. Good for them. Atlanta, Desmond Ridder, 250 yards, no turnovers this game. Algier ran for 59 yards. Bijan Robinson, 1 rush for 3 yards. Apparently, he had been battling an illness, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but still sucky for any Bijan fantasy owners. Tell you what I was happy with, though. Mike Evans, 6 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Dropped 20 points in fantasy football. I love you, Mike, helping my team out tremendously. Baker threw for 275 yards, touchdown and pick. Shot White, 34 yards rushing. But, yeah, pretty defensive centered game. Falcons are now atop the NFC South 4-3, despite having negative points for to points against. And the Buccaneers are now in second on a 2-game losing streak with a -1 points for to points against ratio. Gosh, I don't really know what to say. Buccaneers they always seem to have close games. Falcons are hit or miss each week. NFC South is going to be a grind between the Falcons, Buccaneers, and Saints, unless the Panthers go on an insane winning streak, which I honestly don't. I'm not gonna doubt them though. But I will say the Panthers have played the exact same amount of games now as the Buccaneers and have actually scored more points than them. So this Buccaneers team needs to step up if they're going to compete with some of the better teams. Raiders and Bears was our next matchup, and gosh darn it, I can't believe it. The Bears get it done, ladies and gentlemen. They beat the Raiders 30-12. Shout out to Deontay Foreman. 16 rushes, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns, and caught 3 catches for 31 yards and 1 touchdown as he drops an astounding 33 fantasy points exactly in PPR leagues. Bears are now 2-5. Not even the worst team in the NFC South. They're now third from worst, actually. Good for the Bears. Happy for them. They're only -30 now in points for to points against. Don't really know what they're going to do next week. I mean, who do they play in week 8? The Bears have a date with the Chargers on Sunday Night Football, it looks like. Ooh, that should be a doozy for them. But, man, I really thought the Raiders would get it done. They did not offer much for the eyes in this one. It was pretty bad. I mean, just getting nothing going. Brian Hoyer, zero touchdowns, threw for 129 yards, and 2 interceptions. O'Connell came in, 75 yards, a touchdown and interception. Josh Jacobs only ran for 35 yards. Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 57 yards. Jaquim Myers, 7 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown. Just wasn't getting it done. This Bears defense came up big, 18 fantasy points. I think they scored a touchdown, if I'm not incorrect. They look good. DJ Moore even got 13.4 yards as Tyler Bagent makes his debut, 162 yards and a touchdown. A lot of checkdowns for him, but he managed to get it done. And man, that boy, you could tell that boy is hood. Oh my gosh, he's got a lot of tattoos. Just how he talks, his wearing his hat kind of sideways. I was rocking with them. Raiders now second in the AFC West, 3-4. Coming off of a loss now, not a very pretty points differential. I think it's up to -49 now. So yikes, not too shabby in the offensive and defensive department, but all hope is not lost. You guys can definitely rally if you put your minds to it, and we put our minds to the next game, the Browns and the Colts. Probably the best game of the noon games, in my opinion. It came down to the wire. This was so competitive. Browns win 39-38. So many lead changes, but it's actually Cleveland getting it done. Deshaun Watson coming out with a concussion after throwing one for 5 yards and a pick. Came out. PJ Walker comes back in, 178 yards and an interception. Not doing it well, but this defense comes up big. Jerome Ford, 74 yards and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, 31 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Was getting it done. Amari Cooper, though, 2 catches, 22 yards. Letting me down. My goodness. Browns scrape out with a win. They're now 4-2, but are third in the AFC North. AFC North turned out to be one of the better divisions of the NFL. A little 2-game win streak for them. They're up +19 in point differential. And this Colts team, I got a feel for them. They're now 3-4 in the AFC South. 2-game losing streak, only -13 point differential. Gardner Minshew, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Jonathan Taylor rushed for 75 yards, a touchdown. Zach Moss rushed for 57 yards. Joshua Downs, 125 yards on 5 catches for a touchdown. He was getting it done. Pittman had 2 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. Just sadly not enough, man. The refs, a lot of calls in this game. A lot of interesting things. But this Browns team could be special this season. One of the few games I picked correctly this week, as I predicted the Browns would win next weekend. Who do these teams play? Let me check this out, actually. The Browns will be visiting the Seahawks. Ooh, that'll be a competitive one for the Browns. And as for the Colts, they will be playing the Saints. So I think winnable games in both of those matchups, but certainly not easy. Keeping us rolling with our noon slate, we had the Commanders and the Giants, one of the bigger upsets of the week. This one was very unexpected as we head into the NFC East. Giants are now 2-5. This was not a pretty win by any means, but they get it done. Darren Waller, 22.8 fantasy points. He was getting it done. 7 catches, 98 yards, a touchdown. Tyrod Taylor, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, was doing it. Saquon Rush for 77 yards. And the wide receiver Hyatt, 2 catches for 75 yards. Saquon even caught a touchdown on one of his 3 catches for 41 yards receiving. Good for him. Giants, 2-5 now. Crazy. They've been able to rally now. Where are they on? A little 1-game winning streak now. Still have, do they have the worst offense? They have the worst offense in the league still. Actually, the Giants are the only team, I think, to not break 100 points for yet. They're at 85. Yep, they are the worst offense in the league still, unfortunately. Sam Howell, 249 yards and interception. I mean, a lot of players are rushing. Bijan rushed for 8 rushes, 23 yards and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 6 catches, 90 yards, was trying to do his best, but just nothing going. This Giants defense coming up big in this game. Commanders are now 3-4, though. 1-game losing streak, minus 50 point differential. So clearly the defense needs to do something, and the offense needs to do something if the Commanders have any hope of being able to compete. They do play the Eagles next week, which I think is a winnable game. The Commanders always seem to upset the Eagles, but it's not in a primetime spot. It will be kicking off the noon slate, so I might have to go with the Eagles for that matchup, unfortunately. As for the Giants, they will be taking on the Jets, so we have a little New York battle going on. Lions and Ravens were another one of the, I wouldn't really call it an upset. You know, it kind of was an upset, but I'll just say it was more shocking seeing this Lions team collapse. Lions are now 5-2. They find themselves at 3rd in the NFC now, but still got plus 21 point differential. This was a tough loss, but man, that Ravens team, Lamar leading the charge, getting it done. They win 38-6, shut out the Lions in the first half. What was it? I think it was 28-0 at halftime, if I'm not. Yeah, it was 28-0 at halftime. This Ravens team now only giving up 97 points. Point differential is plus 74 on a little 2-game win streak. Let me read you the stat sheet for this Baltimore team as Lamar Jackson throws for 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, rushed 9 times for 36 yards and touchdown, having an amazing 33.88 fantasy performance. Mark Andrews, 22.3 points in fantasy on National Tight Ends Day. He caught 4 catches for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gus Edwards, man. Oh my gosh, Gus Edwards on my bench in one of my fantasy leagues, dropping 22 points. I mean, he rushed 14 times, 64 yards and a touchdown, and he caught 1 catch for 80 yards. Gus Edwards, I gotta give it to you. You've earned yourself a starting position, I think, next week. I think Gus is gonna be a starter now on the team. If he keeps performing like that, my goodness. Such impressive performance from them. As for Detroit, Jared Goff, 284 yards and an interception. Kept getting sacked, could not do anything. Jahmyr Gibbs, the lone touchdown, 11 rushes, 68 yards. He was the only good part of this team, 27 fantasy points. Amon-Ra St. Brown, not too shabby, 23 fantasy points. He's turned out to be one of the best wide receivers in fantasy football, even in the league. 13 catches, 102 yards. And Sam Laporta, 6 catches, 52 yards, doing the most he could. Even Jahmyr Gibbs getting 9 catches for 58 yards. And those were just little dump-offs just because this offensive line could not stop the Ravens. The Ravens were hot this week. They got it done, and you can best bet I'll be riding with them going forward. My goodness, man. Lions, they got a date next week with the Raiders on Monday Night Football. That is a very winnable game, especially at home. And the Ravens, they travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. So 2 winnable games for both these teams. They might be meeting in the playoffs. Who knows if they keep up their winning ways. Then, I think this. Dude, let me look at my the slate real quick. This was the biggest upset of the week so far, unless the Vikings beat the 49ers, as the Patriots beat the Bills. I could not believe I was even watching that, as every time I checked in. They won 29-25. Crazy stuff. I know no one was picking the Patriots in this one. Bills are now 4-3, despite having a plus, oh my gosh, no way. They have a plus 80 point differential, plus 80, and they lose to the Patriots, who are minus 76 in point differential. Patriots are now 2-5. Are they the worst team? They're tied for the worst team still in the AFC, but honestly, not even tied for worse than the league. I mean, this Patriots team, I could not believe it. Very, very close matchup. I mean, from the get-go, Patriots went up 10-0. Then it was 10-3, 13-3, 13-10, 16-10. Then they went up, 20? No, they went up 19, I believe it was. And then it was 19-10. Bills came back, got 2 touchdowns. They were then up 20. They were up 25 to, I believe it was, I can't even, I'm trying to recall the game. But I just know the Bills were winning at one point. The Patriots were able to rally, get it done. Mac Jones throws for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott, 11 rushes, 31 yards and a touchdown. More of a goal line puncher. Kendrick Bourne, 6 catches, 63 yards and a touchdown. He was getting it done. Mike Gesicki had 2 catches for a touchdown. And, getting it done. But Buffalo, don't know what happened. Allen had 24 fantasy points. Stephon Diggs, 17.8 fantasy points. James Cook, 19 fantasy points. This defense just collapsed. Josh Allen, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw a pick, very costly. James Cook, 13 rushes, 56 yards. Notable 3 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid leads the day in receptions, 8 catches for 75 yards. Josh Allen ran in a touchdown on one of his 7 rushes. And, Diggs, 6 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. But, man, this Patriots team getting it done. Good win for them. Bills really got to, I saw someone describe this as the Bills play to the level of their competition. They're either playing up, such as when they're beating the Dolphins, or they're playing down, like when they're playing the Pets. Next weekend, that'll be a sure test as they play the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football. Quick turnaround. Very winnable game. As for the Patriots, they will be taking on the Dolphins, so their defense will need to come up big in that one. But honestly, savor this. Good win for the week. Congrats, Patriots. Cardinals and Seahawks was another matchup we had. Actually, that was part of the 3:30 slate. Yeah. Seahawks beat the Cardinals. What was the final score of that game? 20-10. Nothing really much going on, if I'm being honest. Going on down in the NFC West. Cardinals are now 1-6, second worst team in the league, 4-game losing streak. As for Seahawks, 4-2, second in the NFC West, coming off of a big win here. Good for them. James Smith and Jigba, 16.3 fantasy points. He caught 1 touchdown on one of his 4 catches for 63 yards. Geno Smith, though, only had 18 completions for 2 touchdowns and a pick on 219 yards throwing. Kenneth Walker rushed for 105 yards doing his thing. And Bobo, the wide receiver, 4 catches, 61 yards and a touchdown. Good for him. Tyler Lockett not really getting involved. I thought he would. Unfortunately, he might be towards the end of his career. Joshua Dobbs, 146 yards on 19 completions. Didn't really do much. DeMarcado rushed for 58 yards. Joshua Dobbs actually rushed for 43 yards and a touchdown. Found that out. Marquise Brown, 3 catches, 49 yards. Leads the day. Cardinals team, I don't know what they're going to do. They definitely need Kyler Murray back, without a doubt. Seahawks, just keep doing your thing. You get DK Metcalf back next week. Good for you. Cardinals Seahawks play the Browns next week, as I mentioned. They host them. The Cardinals will play the Ravens. Oh, yikes. So we'll see how that turns out. I have very low hopes for that. Steelers and Rams, another 3:30 matchup. Good win for the Steelers in this one, 24-17. Sweated it out like some dogs. My roommate is a huge Steelers fan. He was very ecstatic. They were able to squeak this one out. Rams are now 3-4 with a plus 14-point differential. Now on a 1-game losing streak, they find themselves at 3rd in the NFC West. Yikes. But as for their opponents, the Steelers, man, a tough 2nd in the AFC North, 4-2, 2-game win streak. They do have a minus 24-point differential, but that can be overlooked. As their offense did pretty decent. Kenny Pickett, 230 yards, no turnovers. Najee Harris rushed for 53 yards and a touchdown. Warren rushed for 32 yards and a touchdown, and Kenny Pickett even punched one in for a touchdown. George Pickens, 5 catches, 107 yards, leads the day. Deontay Johnson, 5 catches, 79 yards. Rams, I don't know what happened, man. Matt Stafford, a touchdown and a pick. Royce Freeman rushed for 66 yards. Darrell Henderson Jr. rushed for 61 yards and a touchdown. They didn't even play Zach Evans after Fantasy Football had him projected for 11 fantasy points, so I'm very pissed about that. I had him playing, assuming he would be the lead back. I guess not. Puka, 8 catches, 154 yards. Tutu Atwell, 1 catch for a touchdown on 31 yards. Cooper Kupp, only 2 catches, 29 yards. Not really getting involved. It was the Puka show on this game. Good win for the Steelers. Tough loss for the Rams, I'll be honest. That's a very tough loss. They'll definitely need to bounce back next week. Rams and Steelers, who they play next week? I literally have all the games listed. Rams play the Cowboys. Yikes, that should be a interesting one if they can get past them. As for the Steelers, they will be playing the Jaguars. Ooh, so tough matchups for both these teams in their next games. But honestly, you know what? I think they can do it. Chargers and Chiefs was another one of the 4 games I picked correctly. Chiefs just outclassed the Chargers. Honestly, it was looking like it was going to be a historic blowout in the first half. Luckily, the second half, they got more under control, but it was not looking pretty in the first half. First half stats, so Patrick Mahomes ended the day with 424 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. In the first half, he had 330-something yards and 3 touchdowns. He was going crazy. But check out, only 32 rushing yards, was able to haul in a touchdown, though, for 4 catches and 20 yards. I appreciate that. Travis Kelce putting up an insane 35.9 fantasy points. He was on fire this game. I repeat, fire. 12 catches, 179 yards, and a touchdown. He could not be stopped. Rasheed Rice, 5 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Valdez-Scantling, 3 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Everyone was catching touchdowns in this game. Chargers, Herbert, 259 yards, a touchdown through 2 picks. Eckler only 45 yards. It's actually Josh Kelly for rushing for 75 yards at a touchdown, who led the day rushing. Joshua Palmer, 5 catches, 133 yards. Gerald Everett on one of his 3 catches, hauled in the only touchdown for the that Justin Herbert threw. But yeah, top fantasy performances in that game. Palmer at 18.3, but it's Kelce with 35. Patrick Mahomes, 33.86. And Valdez-Scantling, even at 17.4. Chiefs are 6-1. They have an impressive plus 73-point differential on a 6-game win streak. It's looking like they're just going to take over the AFC. The Dolphins are out here losing to the Bills and to the Eagles. So I feel if the Chiefs and Dolphins, maybe the Chiefs can get past them. Chiefs always seem to beat the Ravens. Jaguars would not be an issue for the Chiefs. Man, Patrick Mahomes' era just continues to roll on. But stop showing me Taylor Swift. I'm so annoyed about Taylor Swift. I'll tell you what didn't annoy me, though. All right, as I said on our last episode on the Week 7 pick'ems, I was going to pick the Packers, so if they won, I'd get the pick correct. But if they lost, I'd be happy they lost. And by gosh darn it, the Broncos did it. Broncos beat the Packers 19-17, getting it done, doing their thing. Broncos are now 2-5. We're not going to talk about their points for to points against. It is absolutely insane at minus 69. But hey, they're getting it done. The Packers, Jordan Love had us all fooled that he was good, but now they're 2-4, minus 2-point differential on a 3-game losing streak, 3rd in the NFC North. Not really much to say here. A 19-17 game, it was sloppy. Russell Wilson, 194 yards and a touchdown. Javonte Williams rushed for 82 yards. Cortland Sutton had 6 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. He was doing good. Jordan Love threw for 108 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. A.J. Dillon rushed for 61 yards. Receiving-wise, Romeo Doubs and Jalen Reed each caught a touchdown, but it's Luke Musgrave, 4 catches, 3 yards, had the most catches. Sloppy win for the Broncos, but they get it done. Oh, wow. I cannot believe they did it. But no, I'm happy they did. Because now the Vikings, once we win tonight, will be 2nd in the NFC North. I'm all here for it. I'm all here for these wins. Next weekend, Week 8, Chiefs will be taking on the Broncos, so a loss for the Broncos. And as for the Packers, they take on the Vikings. Ooh, hopefully we don't get anyone injured tonight. That would really suck. Rounding out our games on Sunday, we had the Dolphins and the Eagles, our final game of Sunday. And man, I thought the Dolphins were going to get it done, but nah, this Eagles team is just too good. Eagles win 31-17, 6-1 now, plus 45-point differential. Good rebound win for them after getting upset by the Jets. But just nothing for the Dolphins. They're still 5-2 atop the AFC East. Very impressive, plus 53-point differential, but just some mistakes along the way. Tyreek Hill, though, 25.8 fantasy points. Doing his thing, 11 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Tua, 216 yards, a touchdown interception. Not an MVP performance. Raheem Mostert held to 45 yards rushing. The team itself had 45 yards rushing. So, Ahmed had 3 yards and Tua had -3 yards. Jalen Waddle, 6 catches, 63 yards. Jeff Wilson Jr., two catches, 48 yards. This Eagles defense came up massive in this one, but the Miami defense was able to get a touchdown. They had 11 points in total fantasy-wise. But, man, Eagles just went off. A.J. Brown, 29.7 fantasy points. Jalen Hurts, 23 fantasy points. Dallas Goedert, 18 fantasy points. Jalen Hurts did throw a pick, but had 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 yards rushing for a touchdown. Gainwell punched in a touchdown. And, Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 400 yards. I want to see him more involved. Goddard had 5 for 77 yards and interception. But A.J. Brown is looking to be the number 1 wide receiver on this team. 10 catches, 137 yards and a touchdown. The Eagles team looks good. I don't really see them slowing in the slightest. It's just impressive stuff from this Eagles team. Looking to get back to the Super Bowl, get revenge on the Chiefs. Eagles next week will be taking on, if I can scan my sheet, the Eagles will be taking on nobody. They're not on a bye next week. I know they aren't. Who else? The Dolphins. The Dolphins will be taking on the Patriots. And where is this freaking Eagles team? I'm scanning this too hard. They play the Commanders. I already had mentioned that. That just annoys me. Anyways, we'll move on from week 7. Vikings will play the 49ers tonight. A must-win game for Vikings fans. We need to do this. We can do this. We can pull off the upset. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, week 7 was pretty good. Pick'em-wise, I hope no one tailed me. I'm sure you didn't. But if you did, I apologize. I clearly know nothing about football if I'm only getting 4 games correct. I mean, I did not see the Falcons winning, did not see the Raiders losing, I did not see the Giants winning. I thought the Lions were going to be way better than they were. Ravens just came out scorching. No one had the Patriots game. All right, that was the biggest upset of the week. Rams losing to Steelers in a close one was tough. Packers game, Broncos, who knows what we're going to get from them. And I guess I should have went with the Eagles. Really should have, looking back on it. But yeah. Me and my girlfriend and my mom are picking the Vikings tonight. I know one of my buddies is. But another one of my buddies has the 49ers, and my dad has the 49ers. So really hoping the Vikings can squeak out a win somehow. We'll have to see. But I'll tell you what I did see was UFC 294, which is how we're going to end this episode with a full review of all the fights that went down at UFC 294. It was a very eventful pay-per-view. We're going to get to that in 1 second. I'm going to drink some of this Hoist hydration drink, and then I'll be right back to you. And we are back to round out the episode, our final segment, my favorite segment of every episode. If I don't mention enough, we are, as I always say, the Surprise Jab podcast. Jab meaning UFC, and that is right, UFC 294, Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2 went down this past Saturday. All the fights were entertaining of sorts. We didn't do too. We did decent on picks. We went 3-1 for the main card, sitting us at 119-70 for main card picks for the year, and 490 and 347 all time. So not too shabby. My prelim picks. What I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 correct. We're going to talk about all the fights on this card, go over who I think they should fight next, where they might end up in the rankings. It was a good event. Let's dive right in. Let's not waste any more time. And we kicked off the card with the ever dangerous, the debuting Shara Magomedov. That is right. The undefeated Shara Magomedov took on Bruno Silva and beat him by unanimous decision, improving to 12-0. It was a pretty entertaining fight. Shara outstrikes him 113-65 significant-wise. Total strikes 222-107 in favor of Shara. Bruno lands 3 takedowns for 6 minutes and 44 seconds of control time. Round 1, Shara keeping it on the feet, outstrikes him 46-28, landing some big shots. I thought he was going to get him out of there, but Bruno Silva turned out to be tougher than anticipated. Was able to survive the strikes and made it to round 2, where he was able to go 1 for 2 on takedowns and get 2.5 minutes of control time. But from the back, Shara was throwing elbows, throwing kicks from the ground. It was absolutely crazy. This guy's so athletic, but was showing a huge hole in his grappling. Round 3 kicks off. Shara outstrikes him 94-35, but gets taken down twice for 4 minutes and 19 seconds of control time in favor of Bruno. And despite that, he lost the round. Bruno did nothing with his takedowns. Shara was so active from the back, landing big shots, and gets it done, and honestly impressed me very much so. It showed that he can deal with stuff. Deal with takedowns and stuff, but the main issue that he has to be careful of in the future is when he faces better grapplers who will shoot right away and work on control time. But Shara, super good debut. Happy to see what's next for him. I know he was already calling to fight on the UFC Shanghai card December 9th. I doubt they'll have him turn around that quick, but you never know. This guy looked good. As for Bruno Silva, he's now on a 2-fight losing streak. He's 1-4 in his last 5. Just been a terrible downhill spiral for Bruno Silva here. I don't even know what to do with him next, personally. But as for Shara, I know Michael Olkajacek, a fellow middleweight, the same weight class that they fought in, was actually calling him out of sorts, basically saying like, hey, I want to fight you. Super random. I think he called him a gingerbeard. Yeah, this is what he said. I've heard that you were looking for a bump. If it was down to me, I would stick to guarding the gold at the end of the rainbow rather than joining the big boys club. Think twice. Such a random call out from him, but hey, you know what? Shara, 12-0. He'll be able to fight anyone he wants next, and the UFC loves this guy. Moving on next, we had Victoria Dudikova taking on Jing Frey, and just as I predicted, she beat her. I thought she'd get a finish here, almost knocked her out in round 1, was landing some big shots in round 2, but Victoria Dudikova gets the unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Lands a knockdown in round 1, as I mentioned, actually outstruck her in round 1, 30-16. Round 2, Jing Frey went to the takedown, got 3 minutes and 48 seconds control time. They were dead even, 11 significant strikes each, but total strikes in favor of Victoria, 37-28. Round 3, Victoria defends the takedowns, outstrikes her 41-21, 33-20 significantly, and gets the decision. Victoria then revealed after the fight that she had suffered a staph infection and didn't even know if she was going to fight, which Dana did not like that, as he says, why do they announce this right after the fight? But Victoria Dudikova getting it done. She improves to 8-0. She's now 2-0 in the UFC, 3-0 if you include the Contender Series, and keeps it rolling in the women's strawweight division. As for Jing Frey, 4-fight losing streak. She's 2-6 in the UFC. She's probably getting cut, if I'm being honest. But she always proves a tough test for anyone she fights. Keeping us rolling, we have my first incorrect pick of the night as Muhammad Naimov defeats Nathaniel Wood by unanimous decision. This was an awkward fight, to say the least. It was 29-28 across the scorecards. Daniel Wood outstrikes Muhammad 50-48 significantly, but total Muhammad had more, 100-70. Takedowns 2 for 7 for 2 minutes and 44 seconds control time for Nathaniel Wood. For Muhammad Naimov, 4 for 9, 6 minutes and 42 seconds of control time. A lot of fence grabs, a lot of glove grabs, some groin shots. Muhammad Naimov did not have a pretty fight in this one, without a doubt. He is on a little 2-fight win streak now, 10-2 professionally, but I did not like what I really saw from him. Nathaniel Wood, his 3-fight winning streak is snapped here. He's now 20-6. But round 1, Muhammad outstruck him. Big shots from both of them. I can't believe they didn't credit any knockdowns in this fight. I thought both of these guys landed some, but it was really the grappling which made the difference for Muhammad Naimov. He got outstruck hard in round 3. Definitely lost the third round to Nathaniel Wood, but definitely won round 2. Round 2, Nathaniel Wood only had 1 significant strike, only 6 total strikes. It was really just grappling, defending, grappling. So Muhammad Naimov gets it done. Like I said, nothing impressive here. Nathaniel Wood went back and watched the fight and posted on his socials that he was actually pissed about how dirty Muhammad Naimov fought. So I don't know what's going to be next, but I already know that Muhammad Naimov was calling out Edson Barbosa and Alex Caceres. There's no way he's getting those fights after this performance he put on. Nathaniel Wood, I hope you can bounce back, but tough loss in this one. Good for you, Muhammad Naimov. Nonetheless, you get it done. And then we had one of the most shocking moments, definitely one of the most shocking of the prelims, as Mike Breeden beats Anshul Jubilee. If no one had watched my previous show, we talked about this fight. Mike Breeden was on he was 0-3 in the UFC, 0-4 if you include the Contender Series. Brutal losing streak, was taking on undefeated 7-0 Anshul Jubilee. Round 1, we get things going in this one, and Anshul's outstriking him 44-29. Mike was getting nothing going. I thought he was going to get knocked out at times. Round 2, Anshul even upped it, 49 total strikes to 31, significant 48-29. He was even trying to shoot for takedowns occasionally. Was just doing it good, but Anshul Jubilee, 7-0, very young. Round 3, started to gas a bit. Mike Breeden hits him with a punch, drops him, lands some follow-up shots, and Mike Breeden upsets Anshul Jubilee down 2 rounds on a 4-fight losing streak. Incredible stuff from Mike Breeden. Might just saved his UFC career with a win like that. Anshul Jubilee getting upset. Crazy moment. Mike Breeden saying that he hopes to get re-signed. Hopefully can get back to the UFC, but I don't know, man. It was pretty crazy. I will say that Angel Jubilee definitely disappointing me, but reminding me why I don't bet. Because if you'd have bet Mike Breed in round 3 knockout at the live odds, you would have made a lot of money. A big doozy in our next fight as Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry is ruled a no contest. Round 1 was competitive. Javid outstriking him 29-25, significantly 32-30 total. Javid landed 1 takedown for just about 30 seconds control time. Round 2 comes out. We're barely 15 seconds in. Javid lands a groin shot, which looked more like an inside. Like I'm talking directly by the groin, directly by your balls, but not touching your balls, touching the inside of your thigh. He hit him there. Who knows where he hit, but Victor Henry went down and did not end up getting back up. It was ruled a no contest. He actually went to the hospital afterwards and was throwing up. He's in rough shape. Tough for Victor Henry. But as for Javid Basharat, 14-0. Tough loss for him too. Not a loss. I mean, just tough not getting it done in this one. I won't lie. Javid did post on his Instagram afterwards saying that he thought it should have been a TKO. He's considering himself 15-0. Not really being the most respectful, but to be honest, I could care less. If I'm being honest, I could care less. Javid, he'll be back in the next one. I don't know who he's going to fight at bantamweight, but I don't know. Just an awkward ending to this fight, and we had another one of those instances later on the main card, so this was just repeating. In a very entertaining fight at lightweight, of course, we had Trevor Peek taking on Muhammad Yahya, and my goodness, this fight did not disappoint. Trevor Peek outstrikes him 61-43 significantly. Total strikes 83-47. Trevor lands 4 takedowns for 5 minutes of control time. Muhammad landed 1 for 24 seconds. Round 1, Trevor Peek outstriking him. Got taken down, was able to get back up from it, then managed to take him down, was looking dominant. Round 2, Trevor Peek picking up the pace, landing some heavy shots. Both of these guys were 23-21 in favor of Trevor Peek. In round 3, Trevor Peek closed it out, 35 total strikes to 14, landed 3 of 4 takedowns for 2 minutes and 45 seconds of control time. Man, Trevor Peek getting it done. His first decision victory in his career. 9-1 now professionally. As for Muhammad Yahya, losing his debut, I don't know if it was gassing, but Trevor Peek just had his number. Just nothing going well for him. Not getting it done. Good win for Trevor Peek, and I'm happy for him. I'm actually very happy that Trevor Peek was able to get it done, was able to rebound, especially after a tough loss to Chepe Mariscal last time out. But man, oh man, I'm ready to see who this guy fights next. Let's have him fight someone like Genaro Valdez, another scrappler. He could take on what's his name? Oh my gosh, Joel Alvarez maybe. He could take on he fought Dan Hooker. Who did Dan Hooker? He beat someone that I'm trying to think of that I think would be a good opponent for Trevor Peek, because I kind of want to see this guy thrown into the lightweight mix. He's super entertaining. I like what he brings. Claudio Puelles, yes, that guy's a jiu-jitsu man. Could provide a good knockout for Trevor Peek to add to his record. Good win for you, Trevor. I had you winning, and you did. So good for you. And then we got into our final prelim, ladies and gentlemen, and it did not disappoint. Our top 10 matchup, our first ranked fighters of the night, as number 11, Muhammad Mokaev, took on number 11, Tim Elliott. And this was just a gritty dogfight from the get-go. Round 1, Tim Elliott outstrikes Muhammad Mokaev 20-10 significantly. Total, Muhammad had more, 40-34. Each man landing a takedown. It was very competitive. Tim might have actually won the round. Each man landed a takedown and got just about the same. Tim Elliott had 1 minute and 40 seconds control time. Muhammad, 1 minute 36. But round 2, that's where things get interesting. From the get-go, Muhammad Mokaev said, nope, that's not happening. Landed a takedown right off the get-go. This is insane. Muhammad Mokaev control time in round 2, 4 minutes and 56 seconds. I kid you not, guys. 1 for 1 on takedowns. He landed 1 takedown to start the round. Didn't give it up the rest of the round. All right, total strike 60-33 in favor of Muhammad, but 6-3 significant in favor of Tim. Weren't really that significant, if I'm being honest. But the grappling of Muhammad Mokaev was just showing itself here. Tim was trying to throw up some submissions at times, but Muhammad was not having it. Then we get to round 3, the beautiful round 3. Muhammad goes 1 for 2 on takedowns, 1 minute and 52 seconds of control time, and with 3 minutes, actually 2 minutes left, I should say, 3 minutes into the third round, Muhammad Mokaev gets an arm triangle from Mount and submits Tim Elliott. Incredible stuff from Muhammad Mokaev. He is now 5-0 in the UFC, 11-0 professionally. He gets a performance bonus, our first performance bonus of the night, and his third straight round 3 submission, which I just find incredible. 4 of his 5 victories in the UFC are finishes. This guy's an absolute killer. Tim Elliott, tough loss here, snaps his little 2-fight win streak. He's now 2-2 his last 4. I mean, we can go far back and say like he's freaking 4-5 his last 9 or whatever, but you know what, Tim Elliott, kudos to him for taking this fight. No one wants to fight this guy. Muhammad Mokaev, he's 23 years old. He's 11-0, and he's now the number 10 ranked flyweight in the world. That's right. He will pass Tim Elliott to move into 10th. I don't know if he's going to pass Matt Schnell to move to 9th, but nonetheless, he will enter the top 10. And sky's the limit for him. I mean, he could take on number 9, Matt Schnell, number 7, Alex Pereira. I really like a matchup with number 6, Matthias Nakalu. I mean, Kaikar France does seem a bit high for him, but man, oh man, we're going to be getting some good matchups out of this guy. Muhammad Mokaev, very happy that you were able to get the job done. And by the way, before we even get to the main card, fighters with the last name ending in V went undefeated on this card. I mean, at least all the Russians did. Shar Magomedov, Victoria Dudikovo, Mohamed Naimov. We had, who else? Kamal Mohav, as I just mentioned. And then 4 of our main card fighters who fights were able to not be called no contest. Were able to get it done. It was an immaculate fight. But yeah, good win for Muhammad Mokaev on the prelims. So my official prelims, I went 2-2, 3-2. 4-2. We got 5-2. So 5-2 on the prelims. Not too bad. Shah Magomedov, good debut, remains undefeated. Victoria Dudikova, good test here, remains undefeated. Mohamed Naimov getting a sloppy win. I wouldn't really go anywhere with that. Mike Breeden might just saved his UFC career. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention Cedric Dumas versus Abu Azatir. I cannot believe I forgot to mention this. I completely glazed over this. Nothing happened in this fight, ladies and gentlemen. That's why. Cedric Dumas beat Abu Azatir by unanimous decision. Cedric 1 for 2 on takedowns, 4 minutes and 10 seconds of control time. Abu had 2 takedowns for only 30 seconds of control time. Quite honestly, nothing happened in this fight. Cedric Dumas does win, though, improves to 9-1. He is now 2-1 in the UFC, a little 2-fight win streak. Abu Azatir on a 2-fight losing streak, 1-2 in the UFC. Nothing to say about that fight. I can't believe that's one of the first times I've actually just forgotten about a fight when I was talking about the prelims. But yeah. There's that. Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry, an unfortunate result. Trevor Peake getting a good win, and Muhammad Mokaev stealing the show on the prelims. And then we got into the star-studded main card as we kick things off between Said Nurmagomedov and Muin Gafurov in the UFC bantamweight division. And my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, my goodness, we started with an absolute bang right from the get-go. Said Nurmagomedov slaps on a guillotine choke, submits Muin Gafurov, puts him to sleep in 1 minute and 13 seconds. Absolutely crazy. I mean, 5 significant strikes to 1. Didn't even matter. Said got a hold of the neck. Actually, Muin shot for a takedown. Said literally just wrapped up his neck and he had like a guillotine choke in the clinch on the cage. Muin literally went to sleep. I mean, right when the ref told him to release it, his head just flopped back. Said Nurmagomedov, so impressive. He's now 4-1 his last 5 fights. And so far in the UFC, he has now had, two submissions, 2 of the fastest submissions in bantamweight history. He's got 4 round 1 finishes. I mean, this guy is a problem. I'm able to overlook his losses, both close unanimous decisions. As for Muin Gafurov, I mean, now he's 0-2 in the UFC, also lost in the Contender Series. I wouldn't bring this guy back in, but I mean, Said Nurmagomedov, so good. I saw someone suggest he should fight Kyler Phillips next, an unranked bantamweight. I really like that, but honestly, I would not mind throwing him in the rankings against someone like Adrian Yanez, Ricky Simone, guys like that. But good win for Said Nurmagomedov. I projected he would get a round 1 submission, and he did, so I was very happy about that. I also had Muhammad Mokaev getting a submission. I was happy about that. Other than that, I think I just did. I had Shar Magomedov getting a round 1 sub, no. Victoria Dudikova, round 2 sub, no. Daniel Wood decision, no. So it was nice to see my round 1 submission work. And then our next fight Ikram Alcacerov versus Walray Alvarez. I had Ikram winning with a round 1 knockout, and by gosh darn it, Ikram is so freaking good. He TKOs Walray Alvarez, knocks him out in 2 minutes. This guy definitely should have fought Nasruddin Imavov. Of course, Walray Alvarez stepped down on short notice. Ikram Alcacerov was supposed to fight Nasruddin Imavov, who's actually the number 11 ranked middleweight in the world. Said he took on Walray Alvarez. Shout out to Walray. But, I mean, Ikram outstrikes him 26-12, drops him, knocks him out. These were some tough shots. He actually dropped him with a jab. It was crazy, the power of this guy. Ikram Alcacerov improves to 15-1, 2-0 in the UFC, and a win on the Contender Series. All those by round 1. Not for his career, just in the UFC so far. 2 round 1 knockouts and a round 1 submission on the Contender Series. Love to see it from Ikram. As for Walray Alvarez, he's on a 3-fight losing streak now, 1-4 in the UFC. His last 5 fights, I don't know what to do with Walray Alvarez. But Ikram, my goodness, get this man in the rankings. My goodness, he is so talented. Okay, and he was supposed to fight Paulo Costa, the number 6 guy. Instead, he fights Nasruddin. So these guys don't even want to fight him, right? You put him against any top 15 guy, right? I favor him against number 15, number 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. I'd even say 9, 8, 7. I mean, we're talking, I think this guy could fight into the top 5, all right? Number 8, Jack Hermanson could be someone who's next. Nasruddin Imavov, just rebooking that. Maybe even Chris Curtis. Ikram, a lot of options on the table for him. Really hope that he can have a quick turnaround because this guy is super, super talented. Keeping us rolling, unfortunately, we had a bit of a doozy here as Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker is ruled a no contest. It was a very awkward situation. I mean, the fight was going well. Johnny was outstriking him a bit, 14-13, significant-wise, 17-16. Magomed landed a takedown. 2 minutes in, was able to get a minute control time before he threw a knee to the head of a grounded opponent. Very awkward scenario where the doctor asked Johnny Walker, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm in the desert." And the ref said he's not fit to continue. It was so awkward. The entire place was booing. I was booing. I feel for both of these guys. It just sucks. Really sucks for Magomed. This guy hasn't fought since December, and now he has a no contest against Johnny Walker. I mean, just tough going for Magomed. I say rebook this fight. Pronto. I mean, let's say Johnny Walker has to have a medical suspension, all right, get Magomed a fight, all right? Ask Khan Blachowicz if he wants to rematch him. Have Alexander Rakic fight him. Have Nikita Krylov fight him. Just get Magomed a fight. This guy's in that number 2 spot in the light heavyweight division. He's been trying to fight. Unfortunate result in this one. Best we can do is run it back or just, I don't even know. Tough one here. This was an L. An unfortunate L in what had been a pretty entertaining card. I pretty much started watching with a huge group of people. I was at my buddy's house. One of them has like his parents over and stuff. And the Muhammad Mokaev fight versus Tim Elliott fight was wrapping up. That was a pretty good finish. Then we get 2 round 1 finishes, both pretty fast. And then you have this doozy. So, fortunate result, but hopefully these boys can run it back or just fight soon. Really, just fight soon. Co-main event kicked off next as number 1 and number 4 welterweight contenders Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev fought in the middleweight division, and this one was crazy. I mean, let me just say, Paulo Costa really would have been interesting to see him fight Khamzat Chimaev. But round 1, we kick things off. No touch of gloves. Khamzat Chimaev goes for the takedowns right away. Lands 2 on Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman had only been taken down once in his whole career. I mean, the ratio before this fight was 59 takedowns landed, only 1 given up. That's a 97% defense rate. In this fight, Khamzat goes 4 for 12, Usman 0 for 1. Khamzat dominated on the ground. Round 1, Khamzat takes him down right away, landed a bunch of strikes, going for submissions. Couldn't put Usman away. Usman was super well reversed, keeping himself in it. But 4 minutes and 35 seconds of control time. Khamzat outstrikes him 61-5, 16-3 significantly. It was a crazy good round 1 for Khamzat Chimaev, a 10-8 on the judges' scorecards. For me, at least. I had it 10. I think, all judges had 10-8. Everyone had it 10-8. Super good fight. Round 2. Round 2, we see it very interesting as Khamzat Chimaev was not his normal self. He completely died off. No aggression, just striking from the outside. He was able to land 1 takedown on 1 attempt for 41 seconds of control time, But Usman outstruck him 11-9 significantly. They both had 12 total strikes, and it was a very close round. Looking at the stats, I would have probably given it to Khamzat because of the takedown, but in real time, Usman looked like he had won it. Round 3, another interesting round. Khamzat, being more civil, goes 1 for 4 on takedowns for 2 minutes control time, but Usman outstrikes him 41-34 total, 22-13, significantly wise. Now, it did appear that Khamzat won it just from the takedown, just from the strikes landing. They were swinging at the end of the fight. Obviously, total fight, I honestly did think Khamzat won. I saw a lot of people saying that, Usman had won, this was a robbery, but I disagree. Majority decision for Khamzat. One judge had it tied, the other two 29-27. I had it 29-27 as well for Khamzat Chimaev, and wow, just like that, Khamzat Chimaev will probably be fighting for the middleweight championship next against Sean Strickland. I mean, this guy, just insane. 13-0 now. And he is impressive. What is he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-0 in the UFC. 7-0 in the UFC. Who knows when he'll fight next? He broke his wrist, apparently. That's why he wasn't really throwing anything after round 1. Oh, my goodness. This is just insane. As for Kamaru Usman, so unfortunate. Here's a guy who's on a 15-fight win streak. He's now lost his last 3. I mean, there's Leon Edwards and Khamzat Chimaev, so tough competitors. Got out-grappled in this one. I don't even know what's next for him, but by the sound of it, he wants to move up to middleweight. He expressed some interest in fighting number 3 ranked Robert Whittaker. And honestly, his days at welterweight should probably be over. He looked good at middleweight, and I feel like, you took this fight on short notice. Give him a full camp against someone, he could prove to be pretty good. So we'll see what happens with Kamaru Usman, but good win for Khamzat Chimaev. He'll probably be fighting Sean Strickland next for the belt. That'll be a crazy build-up, and if it's not Sean Strickland, have him fight Paulo Costa, man. Paulo Costa, the pull-out king, that man has no children. After this fight, everyone was amped up for the main event. All the vibes were good. And then, I don't know, the main event is Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski. It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because, I feel like everyone was kind of in consensus that, Volkanovski, everyone's rooting for him. He felt like the good guy in this matchup. Taking out on short notice, he had such a close first fight, looked super impressive, but I don't know what happened in this one. I don't know what happened in this one, but short notice, definitely an effect. Islam Makhachev improving. Islam knocks him out in 3 minutes with a head kick, lands some brutal follow-up punches. Islam beats Volkanovski in round 1. Absolutely insane. Makhachev's win streak improves to 13, tied with now Khabib and Tony Ferguson. This guy is so good. He's now had 3 bonuses his last 3 fights. He's now second title defense is on Makhachev, ladies and gentlemen. He's the number 3 pound-for-pound guy. He just knocked out the number 2 pound-for-pound guy. If John Jones wasn't at the top, I'm honestly putting Islam at 2, and if they put him to 1, I would not be surprised. Also, by the way, Usman was the number 7 ranked middleweight in the world. I mean, number 7 ranked. Actually, speaking of the rankings, Usman was ranked 7th in pound for pound, and I kind of feel like Khamzat will take over maybe in the 10 range or 11. They got to throw Khamzat on the pound for pound now or kick Usman off. And as for Volkanovski, he's definitely probably going to drop 2 or 3 spots or something. As far as lightweights, as far as middleweight rankings go, we got to throw Khamzat maybe on the middleweight rankings, or we have him pass Usman at welterweight. We'll see. But yes, Islam knocks out Volk. Tough loss for Volk. Islam's just his kryptonite, man. Usman had Leon Edwards, it turned out. Volk had Islam, it turns out. Sanya had Pereira for a long time. Wow. Islam Makhachev, so legit. I never doubted him. The Cinderella story of Volk taking this on short notice and winning. It was always fun to think of, but never came to fruition. Unfortunate result, but I am happy for Islam. Good win for Islam. Gets it done in his home country. And these guys aren't rivals. They're so respectful of each other, giving each other their due. A lot of respect on this card. A lot of respect. As for what's next for these 2 champions, Volk will return to featherweight for the foreseeable future. Probably fight Ito Pura next. He wants to fight in January. I don't know if that quick of a turnaround's good, especially after getting knocked out. I might even favor Ito to win in that one, but it's just crazy seeing the Volk from earlier this year and seeing the Volk now. A full training camp really makes a difference. As for Islam, I mean, he's got options. Charles Oliveira, the rematch, of course. He was supposed to fight him originally. Volk stepped down short notice. You can always rebook that fight. Number 2 ranked Justin Gaethje, of course, has found a little bit of a career revival here, winning the BMF belt. He's always available. Michael Chandler always wants to fight. Mateusz Gamrot's up there in the mix. We'll see how the lightweight top 10, top 5 really shape themselves out. But Islam, man, good to fight whenever. You could probably see him on UFC 300 potentially. I don't know. We'll see who they end up all fighting. But yeah, UFC 294, pretty good in review. When I do my end of the year rankings of all 12 pay-per-views or 13 pay-per-views, however many there were, it'll be interesting to see where this lands. The main card really did save this. We had a couple good moments on the prelims, but I'm gonna say overall this was a pretty good card. Obviously, Islam getting a performance bonus, Ikram Al-Kassarov getting a performance bonus, Saeed Muhammad Makayev getting a performance bonus, Hamzat Chimaev, Sharon Magomedov both coming into their own now. And story of the day, tough losses for Volk and Usman, and Johnny Walker Magomedov, an absolute dud on the main card. But we're not gonna let that stop us. Congratulations, Volk, for taking this on short notice. You're a real champion. He was really emotional at his press conference, talking about mental health. But the final congratulations to Islam Makhachev, who retains his belt and improves to an insane Islam Makhachev 25-1, very impressive record. And he's chasing history, man. He's chasing history. I know for a fact he's going to be calling out what's-his-face, the winner of Edwards and Covington, to fight for double champ status. So we'll see if that fight gets made. But as for now, that's all we got from Abu Dhabi. We'll see you guys next year for Abu Dhabi. I mean, I'm speaking to all the rich oil tycoons out there. Who knows how? Oh my gosh, all those Saudi Arabians have so much money. Seeing Hasbullah there is always funny. The Noke boys are always out there. Always entertaining stuff. Dana knows how to put on a show. And I hope you enjoyed this show, ladies and gentlemen, as that's the end of episode 35 of the Surprise Jab podcast. You know, we talked about the NCAA football, talked about college football top 25, did a little MLB playoff check-in. We'll probably go more in depth on that in our next episode. Of course, a week 7 of the NFL review, the big UFC 294 review as well. And talked a little bit about TV shows, and of course, all sorts of stuff. Follow me on my socials, my Instagram, Zach Ruger. I had my Snapchat, Zach Ruger, TikTok. I think we're at Zach Ruger. There's actually a fake account of me. It says Zach Ruger spam. So don't follow that one. Follow the one with me, posing in front of the Minnesota State Capitol. Follow Evergrowing Co. IBE on Facebook and Instagram. I would really appreciate that. Hoist Hydration, sponsor me. Love you guys. Everyone, have an amazing week. We'll be back with a surprise guest later during the week. Always love having guests on. Ladies and gentlemen, have an amazing week. God bless.